Hello and welcome to Caretaker's Corner, where we discuss everything that has to do with taking care of your elderly and disabled parents, disabled spouses, and adult disabled children. My name is CJ and I am your host, and the funny thing is this is actually the second time I'm going to shoot this video. I apparently accidentally deleted it. So today we're discussing active listening, which is probably the last in the communication series. And it may sound like I have done this video already, but I really haven't. I went through and double checked. But all of these aspects of communication are so entwined with one another that I've covered it in every video I've done on communication, but this one is specifically for active listening. I'll give you some tools and tricks that I use and that other people have suggested that you try. And so let's hop into this. Active listening is the last section that we're going to be discussing, and it has to do with being all encompassing. So when you're in a conversation, you're in the conversation. No distractions, no outside influences. Make sure all cell phones are turned off. Well, okay, there's a caveat to that. Make sure that your cell phones are turned off and turned away, turned over where nobody can see them. Make sure the TV is off, not muted, off. And to the best of your ability, make sure there are no other distractions going on. And the reason is when we're dealing with people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, or stroke victims or ADHD, any of these conditions makes communication difficult, makes having a conversation very difficult, because a person can be in the middle of a conversation, something hop up on the TV, and then they're immediately into that and they totally forget what the conversation was about. And when you're dealing with somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia, they may not even believe you were in the middle of a conversation or that the conversation was going on at all. So these are all very important. With active listening, the stage that you have going on for the communication is just as important as the communication itself. So on top of that, you want to pay attention to exactly how your loved one is talking. How are they sitting? How does their face look? Are they wincing? They could be in pain and uncomfortable, and you may need to address that situation before the conversation continues. And you want to pay close attention to the bodily, to the nonverbal bodily clues, because if they're rolling their eyes or like I said, just simple facial features, which you may not think mean a lot, they're trying to convey a lot of information to us, and that is one way in which they intentionally or even unintentionally provide that information. It's important that we are paying attention. They can't always communicate properly what they are feeling. And we can tell from body language if they're getting frustrated, if they're upset, if they're complaining of pain. We can observe where the pain is, and maybe it has to do with something as stupidly simple as the way they're sitting. They don't realize it, but it's causing them pain. And that is one of the ways, by watching their nonverbal body language, that we can figure this out. Another thing, especially when you're dealing with people with communication handicaps, so hearing impaired, people who are verbally impaired, you have to be able to communicate with them in all the, I did a video on different ways to help with communication that are not your classic ways, and you all have to agree upon those communication rules. So that would go back into active listening, because you all need to, number one, come up with those communication ideas and rules, and number two, pay attention to them when they come up. The other thing, another thing with active listening is questions. When they are discussing something with you, you want to ask open-ended questions, not yes or no questions. Yes or no questions will get you very little information. So when you're talking to them, you want to, one, ask clarifying open-ended questions. So if they're saying that the doctor is making them feel uncomfortable or they don't like their doctor, let's start with a broad one. They don't like their doctor. All right, so then you have to find out, why don't they like their doctor? You can do this in one of two ways. You can go, well, is it because she has a gruff way about her? That's a yes or no question. Or can you be more specific as to what the issue might be that you're having with your doctor? That way they have to give you more information. It could be that when you get done with it, and I promise you it sounds stupid, but I've had this happen, the room was too cold, so that's why they didn't like the doctor. Had nothing to do with the doctor. They loved the doctor, but they said they didn't like the doctor and they didn't want to go anymore because the room was just too cold and they froze while they were there. This is our lives. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we have to work through to try and get these answers so that we can solve the problem. In this case, I contacted the doctor and mentioned this, and we wore coats. You know, I had my mother-in-law wear a better sweater on those days. Because you also, in sidebar, especially with older people, they have thin blood and thin skin, so they're pretty sure they are freezing at all times. So rephrasing is another way to help us clarify what's going on in the conversation. So you can rephrase the conversation like a statement they make, like, I don't like my doctor because he is too tall or too annoying, right? So rephrase the conversation, or rephrase when you're talking to him, you rephrase that. It's because the doctor is too big that you seem to not like him. That way, you're clarifying what's going on. But when you do that, you want to clarify to your understanding. That way, it helps them understand what you're hearing and what you think is going on. Because two people can be in the same conversation and totally have different views of what's happening in this conversation. So you want to be sure and use your questions and the rephrasing, the paraphrasing to help you understand what's going on and to make sure that you both are in the same conversation. Now, a little sidebar, if you're dealing with individuals that have memory issues, I suggest that the reason I said that there would be a caveat on the phone. There is a nice little app on your phone that's a voice recorder. And when you're having a conversation, a serious conversation, and sometimes even not serious conversations, with an individual that has memory issues, use that function because it will save you a lot of time, trouble, hassle, and arguments in the future. I use this function with Barbara because she has memory issues. We can have an entire serious conversation, and 2 weeks down the road, she will not even remember the conversation. Like none of it. She'll say we never had it. So it's very important that you're able to go, yes, we did, and this is what we discussed. And then if that still doesn't help, play the audio. It will save you so much stress that you will be amazed at the amount of stress it will save you. And part of these communication, these aspects of communication, these tools I've been going over, is to help make our lives easier, which is really what my channel is about. Yeah, I want to go over stuff that it helps improve our caretaking, but ultimately the channel is about making the caretaker's life easier. And any arguments we can avoid, any misunderstandings, That lowers our stress level and it helps improve our daily lives. And so that is why communication is so important. A lot of arguments, a lot of stress that we go through is, if you break it down, simple communication problems, where they can't communicate to us what's going on, or we're not going to stop and listen. And that is why active listening is so important. We have to stop on our end. Okay, this is very important because I know none of us do this. We have to stop on our end and actually be a part of the conversation. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to do. We have a whole lot of stuff to do. My list for today is a mile long, and having to reshoot a video was not on it. So we have to remember, active listening, we cannot be worried about that list. We cannot be worried about what we're supposed to be doing. We cannot be doing other stuff. We have to stop, sit down, focus on our loved one, and listen to what they're saying. Be a part of the conversation. Don't be a part of the problem. And that is literally what active listening is about. It is about taking all aspects of the conversation, visual, what they possibly could be thinking, what they're feeling. Empathy comes into play here, okay? We have to let them know that we understand they're frustrated, we understand they're upset, and we understand they're hurting, and that we are there to help them. So when we're rephrasing and when we're asking these questions, we need to let them know that we do feel their pain and we do see things from their aspect. All right. And like I said, ultimately with this, the whole idea is to make things better for us. So I hope this has helped you out, and that you have a great day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and put, if you have any comments on this, if you have any ideas, if you need anything communicated better, just drop it down in the comments, and I read all the comments and try to respond to them quickly. I respond to them. I try to respond to them quickly. So next week's video is going to be on take your medical care back. So I hope you'll join me for that. Have a great day. Bye-bye, folks.